Welcome back to the channel. You're watching Sawtooth Tactical, and the Supreme Court literally just gutted the abilities of the ATF to infringe on your rights and my rights. This case is actually really huge. This is something that I've been waiting for a very long time, and it's not a gun-specific case. What it is about is Chevron Deference. Now, you've probably already heard of Chevron Deference, but what it has to do with is a case that I believe was back in 1984. It has to do with the Chevron Oil Company and the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, not the ATF. But what they basically decided is that instead of Congress having to pass certain laws or the courts having to interpret those laws, that they would defer Chevron Deference. They would defer to the regulatory agencies that are regulating such things. In that case, it was the EPA regulating the Chevron Oil Company. And so they gave a lot of power to these three-letter agencies, including the ATF. So we have been living under a Chevron Deference doctrine ever since, and the ATF, along with, like I said, many other three-letter regulatory agencies, well, they've been able to use Chevron Deference in order to basically make law. And I know that technically they aren't making law, but what it is things like the pistol brace rule, like the frames and receivers rule, the engaged in the business of selling firearms rule, bans on things like bump stocks and forced reset triggers. All of these things, basically what it is the ATF reinterpreting existing law, coming up with rule changes, and, making things illegal that weren't previously illegal. And they've been able to do this because of this thing that we talked about called Chevron Deference. The courts deferred to the ATF to make these decisions as the regulatory agency overseeing alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives. Well, the problem with that is that the ATF, especially under the current, regime, the Biden administration, is very, very anti-gun and anti-Second Amendment and anti-you and me, law-abiding citizens that own firearms for lawful, peaceful reasons. And so when you have an agency that's run by a guy named, like Steve Dettelbach under a guy like Joe Biden, well, they basically use, the Chevron Deference to decide that whatever they want to decide is illegal. And they turn people, I know you've heard this a million times, into felons overnight over things like pistol braces, over things like, again, forced reset triggers, the bump stock ban. All of these things weren't laws that went through, the actual process outlined in our Constitution, meaning Congress, making a law, passing it, and then it getting signed into law by the president. It's been the ATF just deciding that they don't like something. And because of Chevron Deference again, they could just make those decisions and call them rule changes and call them reinterpretations of existing law. But they basically had the same force of law, the same consequences for you and me. Because even though, take something like the pistol brace rule, for instance, the way the ATF sees it, they're not making a new law. They're just reinterpreting these as short-barreled rifles. And short-barreled rifles are already something that's been regulated under the National Firearms Act. So therefore, people that have them are just, they automatically had illegal SBRs according to the ATF. But Congress didn't make any new law that said that pistol braces were SBRs or that they were illegal or anything like that. The ATF just reclassified them as SBRs, and then the existing law, the NFA, that makes SBRs classified as the way they are, and being regulated to such a higher extent than regular firearms, well, then that's what made these things illegal. I'd like to thank Aura, which is the sponsor of this video. You know, firearms can protect you and your family and your household from a lot of threats and provide you with a certain amount of security. Well, Aura can provide you with security from the things that you don't see and protect you from those threats. I've been using it for a few months now. When I first got it, I Googled my name and there was a lot of stuff that came up. And then I signed up with Aura and I watched as they took each and every one of those things off of the internet so that my information wasn't out there anymore. They do a lot of things, including identity and credit monitoring, password manager, antivirus protection. They have a VPN, home title monitoring, and then the big one is data broker removal. As you guys probably already know, scammers are a huge part of life now, which really sucks. But the way that they get your information is from data brokers. And Aura goes out there and they find those data brokers that have your information and they submit opt-out requests on your behalf, removing your information off the internet so that scammers don't have access to you anymore. The big thing that it's helped me with is I don't get spam calls anymore, and I've noticed that over these last few months that I've been using it. I just have stopped getting spam calls. If you want to support this channel, Sawtooth Tactical, the best way to do that is to sign up for Aura. You get 2 weeks free if you use my link, which is aura.com/sawtooth-tactical, and then it's only $12 a month for all of those things that I listed earlier. I really appreciate what Aura has done for the channel. And I appreciate that they sponsor firearms related channels. It says a lot to me about who they are. I value my privacy and I also value yours. So the good news is that Chevron Deference is dead. The Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, threw it out. Chevron Deference is no more. And this is a big deal because it guts the ATF of their ability to just decide on a whim that something that they don't like is all of a sudden illegal. Now, in order, if they wanted to go through the same kinds of things again that they've been trying to pull for the last 3 years, if they wanted to make something like pistol braces illegal now, well, now Congress has to make a law to make pistol braces illegal. Or they have to, decide, or the courts, like the Supreme Court would have to interpret the law, the National Firearms Act, to say that, pistol braces are the same thing as stocks and that like something like this, Mark 18 that I'm building here is actually an SBR, even if it has a pistol brace and not a stock. That would be for, the courts to decide and for Congress to make those laws. The way that things are supposed to be according to our Constitution, it takes away the ATF's ability to just decide these things on a whim through rule changes and, make everybody into felons. So what does this mean though going forward? Unfortunately, it doesn't really have any bearing on things that have already been done in the past. Now, luckily, the pistol brace rule was vacated. We are still going to hear oral arguments on all those cases on August 5th. But for now, it's pretty much dead in the water, and it probably will be dead after August 5th. Every one of those cases has gone in our direction so far. We've had injunctions, all that. We're not going to get totally into the pistol brace rule today. Not what this video is about. But a lot of these other things, the bump stock ban. Again, something else that was just basically thrown out. All of this stuff that the ATF has been trying to do, well, the ones that are actually in place and have passed, like, it is what it is. But now we can go back and fight those cases using the fact that Chevron Deference is no more as a reason to get those things dropped. Because Chevron Deference is no more, it doesn't automatically overturn every single decision that one of these three-letter agencies has made since Chevron Deference was put into place in 1984. But what it does do is it takes away their ability to do this stuff in the future. Going forward, the ATF can no longer just decide that something that they don't like is illegal. It will have to be a law made by Congress or it'll have to be, interpreted by the courts, not by a bureaucratic agency that is vehemently anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment, and anti-American citizen. And so this is a huge win for all of us in the Second Amendment community. So let me know down in the comments what you think about this, because this is huge. And again, it's not a strictly gun-related issue. In fact, this case was started over some fishermen that had to deal with the EPA and some of the rules that they'd put into place. And they basically had to pay guys that were regulators on their boats, and they were sick of it. And so they sued, and Chevron Deference got beat. And this is huge news. This is maybe bigger than just about any other gun law or gun case that we've talked about on this channel, to be quite honest. This really is exciting to me because, again, it does take away the ATF's ability to infringe on our rights in a lot of ways, which is huge because the ATF loves infringing on our rights, as you probably already well know. So again, let me know what you think about this. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Make sure you subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical. From Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.